Let's cut through the noise, brothers and sisters. Let's cut through the press releases and the political spin. Mount Vernon did not almost fail Officer Derek Williams. It did fail him, and only responded after public backlash forced his hand. This is not a feel-good story. This is not a personal story. This is an accountability story. So let's get into it.
This is the Publisher's Desk with Damon K. Jones, brought to you by Black Westchester Magazine, where life, culture, community, and faith meet truth, power, and purpose.
Peace and blessings, everybody. I'm Damon K. Jones here, and welcome to another edition of the Publisher's Desk, powered by Black Westchester Magazine, blackwestchester.com. Officer Derek Williams is a 19-year-old veteran of the Mount Vernon Police Department. During the COVID-19 pandemic, when City Hall workers worked from home and the city was shut down, public safety did not. Officer Williams was on the street, entering homes, responding to calls, working overtime because the city depended on him. During that period, he contracted COVID-19. Years later, he's suffering from kidney failure and now depends on dialysis to survive. Instead of being protected, he was placed on the path towards termination, which would strip him from both his job and his health insurance.
Tonight we have a story that will puzzle some and spark fury in others.
Yeah, especially during a time of being kind and thinking about others. A 19-year police veteran in Mount Vernon has kidney failure, and he is on dialysis.
Now, if you know anyone who has had this, you know what it means. But in his case, and this case, his doctors say he can work on light duty.
But here's the rub. The Mount Vernon Police Department says he can't work, and he's now being terminated December 31st, and that means no health insurance.
Happy holidays. Not. Here's Marcus Solis.
I do 9 hours of dialysis 7 days a week to maintain my health. Without that, I wouldn't survive.
Derek Williams describing his declining health, surrounded by retired Mount Vernon police officers supporting their brother in blue. Williams is a 19-year veteran, a former member of the Elite Emergency Service Unit. In 2020, he contracted COVID after months of working double shifts.
Derek's character caused him to come in and work and support this city and the residents of this city during the worst pandemic that we've had.
The department has classified Williams' kidney failure as a non-job related illness and stopped paying him when he became too sick to work. Doctors have cleared the 45-year-old for desk duty, and he's just 6 months shy of qualifying for a reduced pension. That request has been denied.
I begged for my job back. I begged to come in whatever hours that I can capable of doing, and I was told there's no light duty for me.
Earlier this month, Williams received a termination letter effective December 31st, which would not only end his career, it would cut off his health insurance.
I just feel like they had no empathy, they had no compassion.
To be just thrown like in the garbage, like it's over.
Only after public pressure did the City Hall intervene. That matters. But it does not erase everything that went wrong in how the city, the PBA, and the police department handled Derek Williams.
Now, those who saw our story Tuesday night apparently left their feelings be known about the 19-year police veteran in Mount Vernon. 19 years on the force, and he was about to lose his job and his health insurance.
It's all because of kidney failure and dialysis, but the department is now offering the officer to return to work and keep his health insurance until he receives his state pension.
Which is about 6 months away. A very different kind of ending.
Here's Marcus Solis.
When it comes to catastrophic illness, there are heartstrings that are pulled, and there are other things that might need to be considered.
Mount Vernon's mayor weighing in on Derek Williams, the police officer facing termination December 31st. The former ESU cop has been unable to work for the last 2 years because of kidney failure.
I do 9 hours of dialysis 7 days a week to maintain my health. Without that, I wouldn't survive.
Williams says his health started to decline after contracting COVID during the height of the pandemic, and says police brass ordered him back to work because his illness was non-work related. But the city says that determination was never made because Williams never filed paperwork under 207C, the state law that covers wages and medical expenses for police officers injured on the job.
We've gone and checked our records to make sure we didn't miss emails, miss any paperwork submitted. The bottom line is we're willing to meet.
More importantly, the city is extending an olive branch. Termination would cut off Williams' health insurance just 6 months shy of qualifying for a reduced pension.
He said he needed 6 months to apply for medical disability, and we're going to extend it for 6 months so that he can maintain his medical coverage that he continues to pay into.
The 45-year-old story has gone viral, generated kidney donation offers, and a GoFundMe page has been launched. The city says its decision is about extending grace, not saving face.
For me, it's not just about public pressure. I have to deal with public pressure every single day when I have to make decisions that are popular and some are unpopular.
Williams is suddenly facing developments on several fronts. He tells me he's considering the city's offer, but will only meet with department brass with the proper representation present. In Mount Vernon, Marcus Solis, Channel 7, Eyewitness News.
So the mayor has framed the city's action as an olive branch, a moment of grace prompted by compassion rather than pressure. But when you examine the facts carefully, brothers and sisters, that framing collapses. First, the city now says is offering Officer Williams the ability to return to work and maintain his health insurance until he qualifies for state pension, roughly 6 months away. That is being presented as a resolution, but it's not. What has changed is not a decision itself, but the timing of the consequences. Officer Williams is still classified as non-line of duty. He is still facing termination. He is still on track to lose his health care. The city has simply delayed that outcome. Delay is not protection. It's just extension. It's not a correction. Second, the mayor and the city place heavily emphasis on the claim that no determination was made under New York General Municipal Law 207C because Officer Williams never filed the paperwork. That explanation raises more questions than it answers. Section 207C is not a casual benefit officers are expected to navigate on their own while critically ill. It is a statutory protection triggered by job-related injury or illnesses, and it is required active engagement by the employer, the department, and the union. When an officer is ordered back to work and told his illness is non-work related and later becomes incapacitated, the absence of paperwork is not proof of not being eligible for it. It is the evidence of the breakdown of the process. People did things wrong, not just in the union, not just in the police department, but also in City Hall. Paperwork does not fail itself. Systems fail people. The city's completed claim that it checked all the records and found no missing submissions does not resolve the responsibility of the city. Employers have the affirmative duties under federal and state law, particularly under FMLA, to notify employees of their rights once a long-term medical condition is known. That duty does not disappear because an employee is a police officer or a union member. An officer on dialysis for 2 years should have never reached a termination stage without those protections being formally addressed. Fourth, the mayor asserts that this decision is about extending grace, not saving face. But grace that arrives only after media coverage, public outrage, and national attention is just bullshit. That's all it is. If grace were the guiding principle, Officer Williams would have been placed on protected medical status a long time ago. His health care would have been secured. His COVID exposure would have been addressed when it happened, not years later, not under a deadline. Finally, the city characterizes this moment as a different ending. It's not an ending at all. See, Officer Williams is still being asked to survive 6 more months under uncertainty. He's still dependent on dialysis. He's still at risk of losing health care. that keeps him alive. And he is still forced to negotiate for dignity instead of receiving it as a matter of law. See, what this moment actually represents is a familiar pattern. A system that fails quietly until it fails publicly. A city did not resolve the failure. It postponed its accountability. And until the underlying classifications, protections, and health care guarantees are corrected by the city of Mount Vernon, not delayed, the outcome remains exactly the same. And now we're going to go through the failures of the city of Mount Vernon, the police department, and the PPA in protecting Officer Williams' rights when he caught COVID in the line of duty, and now he's suffering from kidney failure that came from that COVID. And we should be ashamed of ourselves. Failure number one, COVID reality and the law was ignored. When Officer Williams contracted COVID-19, legal protections for first responders were already in place. At the federal level, Congress passed the Families First Coronavirus Act, expanding job-protecting medical leave and recognizing COVID-19 as a serious medical condition requiring accommodations and care. Congress also enacted the Coronavirus Line of Duty Presumption, signed into law August 14, 2020, established that the first responders who contracted COVID during service were presumed to have done so in the line of duty, unless proven otherwise. Now, at the state level, brothers and sisters, New York enacted the COVID presumption and workers' compensation protections, recognizing that frontline workers face unavoidable exposure and should not be forced to prove exactly when or where the infection occurred. These laws were active, they were intentional, and they existed when Officer Williams got sick. To later classify Officer Williams' illness as non-job related ignores both medical reality and the legal context, especially now when medical evidence has firmly established a link between COVID-19 and long-term organ damage, including kidney failure. See, COVID did not disappear when the emergency's declarations expired. And the damage did not disappear either from people's bodies. See, you don't get to rely on first responders during a crisis, then disown them when the consequences of that crisis appear afterwards. Now let's get in failure number two. How the laws overlapped and how the system in Mount Vernon failed. This is where the record must be corrected. Officer Derek Williams did not fall through the cracks of the law. He fell through the cracks of enforcement of the law. Because when you place the federal and state COVID laws side by side, you will see it's not a conflict. You will see an overlap. And the overlap creates duty. Now, what should have happened, brothers and sisters? At the federal level, Congress created a layered protection system, job-protected medical leave for COVID-related illnesses, line of duty presumption for first responders who contracted COVID, ARPA funding sent to cities specifically to address long-term COVID harm, preserve payroll, and maintain benefits. State level, New York reinforced that framework. COVID was recognized as work-related for frontline employees. Workers' compensation and medical coverage were tied to presumptive exposure. Employees were placed on notice that COVID exposure was an occupational hazard. Together, these laws created stacked protection: federal presumption, state presumption, mandatory medical leave, federal money to support all of it. There were no legal confusion. There was no policy gap. There was clear overlap. But when it comes to Derek Williams, it was clear failure to recognize these laws. Failure number three, the PBA failed its most basic responsibility, representation of Officer Williams. A police benevolence association exists to serve as law enforcement, labor union, and advocacy body whose core mission is to protect the contractual, legal, and workplace rights of police officers. It's meant to function as a safeguard when officers are most vulnerable, providing collective representation, enforcing due process, and ensuring fair treatment in disciplinary, medical, and employment matters. At its core, the PBA is supposed to be a lifeline for officers, not a passive observer when those protections are most needed. See, the PBA had a duty to activate those protections that I previously talked about. Now, that's not optional. That's real representation. The PBA should have asserted the federal line of duty COVID presumption, ensured FMLA designation was filed and protected, invoked state workers' compensation and presumption protections, tracked Officer Williams' extended medical absence, prevented termination while duty-related illnesses was ongoing. None of that happened. Officer Williams was out for nearly 2 damn years with documented kidney failure and dialysis. Yet, no federal protections were enforced, no presumptions was asserted, no safeguards was triggered. This is not a misunderstanding. This is complete abandonment of the union's duty to protect an officer that was protected by federal law. Police unions exist to protect officers when they're most vulnerable. Failure number 4. The department and the city PBA failed independently. But the failure doesn't stop with the union, brothers and sisters. Under federal law, the employer, that is the city of Mount Vernon, has an independent obligation. The city of Mount Vernon, through its police department and human resources division, had a duty to designate FMLA once serious medical condition was known, recognize COVID illness under the federal and state presumptions, prevent termination based on protected medical absence, preserve healthcare during ongoing treatment, and use ARPA funds to mitigate COVID-related harm to essential workers. Instead, Officer Williams' absence was treated as undocumented, not because the illness was undocumented, but because no one activated the protections designed to document it. The PBA failed its judicial responsibility to make sure every avenue was exhausted to protect Officer Williams' rights. The police management's failure became the justification for termination. That's how the system harms good people. Failure number 5, the ARPA question and what the city chose to do. Now, the city of Mount Vernon received approximately $41.1 million in the American Rescue Plan Act funds. That money existed so cities could not have to preserve systems by sacrificing workers harmed by the pandemic. The city spent ARPA funds on vehicles, programs, infrastructure, grants, right? According to the city. But ARPA 9901 exists to address the public health harms of COVID. And Treasury rules explicitly recognize first responders as eligible workers whose COVID-related illnesses and healthcare needs fall within the statute's intended use. New York General Municipal Law 207C requires municipalities to maintain pay and medical coverage for police officers injured or taken ill in the line of duty. ARPA 9901 exists to address COVID-19 public health harms, explicitly recognize first responders as eligible workers when police officer contracts COVID on duty and suffers long-term illnesses. ARPA funds were intended to support, not undermine, the city's existing 207C obligations. But when a police officer became permanently ill from COVID, the response was not protection, it was termination. So what did the mayor do when public outcry? She delayed it only after public outrage. She delayed it 6 months, but he's still gonna lose his health care. He still needs dialysis. See, he's still scheduled to be fired. That's not a solution, that's just pandering to the press. For a man on dialysis, losing his health care is not administrative, it's life-threatening. So where does the failures converge, brothers and sisters? The laws were there, the money was there, the authority was there. What was missing was proper execution of the laws, the money, and authority. The union failed to enforce the protections. The department failed to activate them. And City Hall failed to intervene until it was politically unavoidable, and then they still failed. At every point, the protection was legal. At every point, money existed. At every point, someone had the authority to stop it. And at every point, the system failed Officer Williams. Delaying injustice does not make it justice. Postponing harm does not make it humane. Until Officer Williams' 207C in healthcare is secured, and these failures are corrected by policy, not discretion, this case remains what it truly is: a complete government failure stretched out over time. And that is what Mount Vernon must now answer for. What Derek Williams' case exposes is not just a policy failure, brothers and sisters. It exposes a culture, a city culture. And that culture must change. And I say that from experience. I have watched the city government and its police department turn their backs on his own before. I watched it happen to my wife, so I'm talking from firsthand knowledge, who was a police detective, who was unjustly suspended for 10 months by Mayor Richard Thomas. And I watched our family cupcake shop be illegally shut down by the same officers that she called brothers and sisters following unlawful orders. And I watched co-workers and supervisors stay silent. I watched grown black men punk out and be slaves to a garbage man who gave them illegal orders. Imagine what it feels like when your co-workers know that what's going on is wrong. They know that there's possible illegal acts going on, and nobody says a word. It's just another Tuesday that I could get some overtime. See, the PBA was silent. Union lawyers was complicit. People who knew better chose self-preservation over integrity. They did the same thing with Sergeant Bovell. When he did what he was sworn to do, is expose dirty cops that were violating black people in Mount Vernon's rights. Instead of being supported, he was isolated. Instead of being protected, he was abandoned. I know what I'm saying. And the stress of doing the right thing made him sick. And God bless him, he's not here today. But how would his health been if brothers and sisters would have stood with him and supported him? And he had to stand out there by himself. See, and now we're here again with Officer Derek Williams. Once again, the system has failed. The union has failed. Police management has failed. City Hall has failed. And instead of ownership, everybody wants to point fingers. See, let me tell you something. In all those cases I mentioned, you know what is the most valuable thing that you could give somebody that's going through that? And I have helped officers all over Westchester and all over New York State. Is presence. It's just you being present when they're speaking up for themselves. And all these three things, nobody was present. You know, it's really sad that when I have a press conference, I have to get cops from New York City, black cops from New York City, to come up and stand with people because the cops and their co-workers in their police department is too damn scared to stand up. I have to bring them. They have to drive from Long Island, Queens, Brooklyn, the Bronx to stand with your co-workers. And whether it's in White Plains, whether it's Mount Vernon, whether it's Yonkers, I have to do that. It's sad that I have to do that. See, when it comes to Derek Williams, when people are targeted and the institution was absent, when the officers do the right thing, co-workers are absent, the illness struck, still absent. See, that absence is not accidental. It's cultural. I have realized now in my 33 years in law enforcement, in my 58 years on this planet, and dealing with law enforcement organizations, this is cultural. Especially in Mount Vernon. See, this city is where too often people who speak up are isolated, and people who fall ill are discarded, and people who serve faithfully are treated as expendable once they become inconvenient. See, I've seen some officers fight harder for the officers that go out there and violate people's rights than officers trying to do the right thing. So what Officer Williams' case is not just a tragic incident, because it is tragic, but it's a clear exposure of the hearts of a lot of people. See, it exposed a fractured culture in Mount Vernon that you eat your own. You prioritize silence over justice and survival over principle. Yeah, I said it. And when the culture goes unchecked, the consequences are not abstract. They're human. See, in this case, the consequences is a man on dialysis being pushed toward losing his health care. That's not administrative. That's existential. So let's be honest about what's at stake as I end. It's not about one officer. This is not about one mayor, even though she might think it is. This is not about one union, even though they might think it is. It's really about whether Mount Vernon is willing to confront the culture that rewards silence, punishes integrity, and abandons people when they need the protection the most. It's really about the spirituality of the city. How about that one? That's what it's about, the spirituality of the city. Now, many of us say we're Christian, Hebrew, Jewish, Muslim. When any of those prophets allow Derek Williams to be in this position, I'm going to leave that one right there. A lot of us want to claim Christ and Muhammad and Abraham, but we rather play politics more than we play servants. See, because if our culture doesn't change, Derek Williams will not be the last one that I talk about on this show. And that's the real indictment of Mount Vernon. So thank you for listening. This is the Publisher's Desk. And I'm Black Westchester publisher Damon K. Jones. And this show is powered by Black Westchester Magazine and blackwestchester.com. Please like and share. Share it with anybody. Please subscribe. Please subscribe. And as always, stay safe, stay blessed, and always stay blacktastic. Peace out.
Tired of the same emotional politics that lead nowhere. Emotional Politics, Logical Failure by Damon K. Jones is the book Black America needs right now. It exposes the lies, challenges the gatekeepers, and calls for real strategy, not just symbolism. Power starts with truth. On sale, now, and available in audiobook on Amazon.
Tolerance is for Cowards by Damon K. Jones. This book is not anti-police, it's pro-community. Discover how the extended policing strategy empowers you to demand real public safety, justice, and accountability from your local police department. Because the Black community deserves good policing. On sale now on Amazon and Audible. If you found this video informative, don't forget to like and share it with others who need to hear the truth. And for exclusive content and behind-the-scenes access, join the Black Westchester Magazine YouTube membership club today. Your support helps us keep independent Black media strong.
This is the Publisher's Desk with Damon K. Jones, brought to you by Black Westchester Magazine, where life, culture, community, and faith meet truth, power, and purpose.